How's it going, everybody? What's up? What's up? Thank you for joining me. I'm going to be talking about the Xhosa tribe in South Africa, and they're related to the Zulus and many other people. And all the Bantus of South Africa are Israelites. They are the children of God. Not just all the Bantus in South Africa, but all the Bantus in sub-Saharan Africa and all over the Bantu related people all over the world. But but let's just talk about the Bantus for this moment. I mean the Xhosa tribe, the Xhosa people. Okay, this book is called Black Jews in Africa and the Americas, written by Professor Tudor Parfit, and he has some wonderful information. One of the greatest experts on Black Jews and Judaism in Africa and all over the world. And so this is page 60, and this is paragraph 2, okay, or either the first full paragraph. It was generally assumed that the religious structure of the Xhosa too had developed from some ancient Near Eastern religious system. In 1827, an English settler in the Eastern Cape noted that the Xhosa had religious traditions that included some Mohammedan and Jewish rites. At the conclusion of the Sixth Xhosa War, from 1834 to 1836, Sir Harry Smith, recently appointed governor of the short-lived province of Queen Adelaide, set himself the task of endeavoring to understand the defeated enemy and maintained that he'd have found many things that resembled the law of Moses. So, the law of Moses, for people who may not know, those are the commandments and the laws written for the Israelites in the Old Testament, also known as the Hebrew Scriptures. So he found many things that about the Xhosa that was written in the Bible in the Old Testament. Let me keep going. A similar theory was developed by Robert Godlington, spokesman for land-hungry settlers in the Eastern Cape and editor of the Grahamstown Journal, which expressed the settlers' views. He too argued that it was possible to prove the origin of the Xhosa enemy by reference to their language, which he said clearly showed traces of its eastern origin. In the frequent occurrence of words which are plainly of Hebrew or Arabic extraction. So they know this, okay? He simply observed that many persons suppose that they can discover in many of their ceremonies an affinity to those established by the ancient Jews. So he's saying the language he can see that their language has an Eastern Hebrew or Hebraic flavor from the East, like from Israel. And that their ceremonies, many of their ceremonies were just like the ancient Jews, the ancient Israelites of the Bible. Let me keep going. Following the theories of the time, he maintained that the Xhosa had degenerated from the manners and customs of their forefathers. Their ancient home was somewhere in the Middle East, and it was only because of the long journey from there to the Eastern Cape and the lapse of time that they had lost the more noble and advanced traits of their ancestors. So the that makes sense because the size of Africa is huge. On maps that have been made, most maps do not serve the size of Africa justice. The United States can fit in Africa 4 times or more. Africa is huge, so from the coming in from the northeast part of Africa and going on foot and traveling from country to country. Some people stay back in the country they traveled in, but other people kept moving forward. over that time, it makes sense that some of the intensity and the greatness of the culture that once existed could be lost, but it was not lost all the way. It was still there, and the Europeans could see it. Let me keep going. Um, their ancient home was somewhere in the Middle East, and it was only because of the long journey from there to the Eastern Cape and the lapse of time that they had lost the more noble and advanced traits of their ancestors. The colonial fantasy of asserting the Xhosa into the narrative of Christian sacred history while constructing them as a race alien to Africa served a gauntly secular aim, as their ancestors have been intruders into the area, bringing their foreign language with them. The Xhosa did not belong in South Africa. As elsewhere, it was an act of othering in which the barely known Xhosa were giving racial and linguistic characteristics of better known European others, including the Jews. So, and but you know that has happened according to this, according to the history books. The Europeans were for, find some advantage for calling some people propping, seeing that they have Jewish traits. It may be in saying they're greater than this people, but many of the people who they're pitting against each other are also Israelites. It's amazing. And so let me look at something here. So I noticed that when I read more about the Xhosa people, that many things that they do or have done sounds very much like the Israelites of the Bible. Um, their, for example, the birth and the way that the woman was secluded after the birth and for a number of days, the marriages, things like that. Let me the circumcisions. That's a requirement for the Israelite uh, boys to be circumcised, and funerals. I saw a lot of things like in funerals, how that sounded very similar. If you read the Old Testament, of the way that the Israelites were instructed to handle their funerals, even in the things that the Xhosa do, like sacrificing of animals, such as a cow or a sheep or a goat without blemish, or even sheep. And if this is all right, what I've read, and also marriage, the where the man would meet with the and his family would meet with the family of the bride that he wanted to marry. They would make negotiations, and there must be a dowry paid or a bride price. That's the same thing, the same way they did in the Old Testament. Same thing that the ancient Israelites did. These things are came you a lot of the Africans, the Bantus and Bantu related tribes, and even the tribes where we at slave descendants in America, from West Africa and West Central Africa, and the Bantus that were taken in different places, South America and the Caribbean islands and Central America, North America, and all over. It's very similar to their rituals and beliefs in God, and their circumcisions and marriages are very similar to each other and to the Israelites of the Bible, because all those people, the West Africans, the race known as Negroes, are all the children of Israel, all related. We all have the same DNA, E1B1A. So African Americans are also Israelites. Jamaicans are Israelites. Black Afro Brazilians are Israelites. Afro, The black Cubans, the black Puerto Ricans are Israelites. The and so no matter if you're Bantu in South Africa, so you see what I'm saying? It so the more you know, so you know if you know that the Xhosa people are Israelites, you know that the Zulu people are Israelites. Then you know that on the West Coast, the Igbo and the Ashanti and the Yoruba and the Ewe and the Fon people are Israelites. And you know that people in Congo and all those places, all in sub-Saharan Africa, you realize, along with the Xhosa, that the Israelites fill up sub-Saharan Africa. The Israelites, the home and the soil of Africa, is the heritage of the Hebrews, the children of God. So and so let me keep going. So that also I noticed that the concept of God, the Xhosa know very well who God was. They knew before the white man came. They knew before Christianity. And so I looked up Dali, if I'm saying it right, Dali, and before the name was called, as far as I understand, Daliwe, which is the name of the place where Dali came from, hence the name. But that sounds very much like Yahweh, the God's name of the old Bible of the Old Testament. The God of the Bible, Yahweh, sounds very much like Daliwe. Now I don't know if if that means anything, if it's the same name, but Mdali. And the Ashanti people on the West Coast, the Ashanti Israelites, call God Yahweh. And some people in Congo and other Bantus in Bantu Africa call God Zambi. And some call him Nwali. And and I've heard of some people, some African tribes or people, Israelite tribes, call God Nawuni. And and some people call him Nyamwezi. And here Daliwe, Dali is very similar. Now it's just it's some things that I've noticed. So now when I look at let's see about the now here in the Oxford reference, it says that Ndali is the creator, the molder, and it says that it's believed, some say that he emerged from a cave in the east, a cave called Ndaliwe, and hence that's where he gets his name. Ndali was the original name of the creator God, governor of all. Um, so the main thing that I want to get point that I want to make with that is that that's the same way that the Israelites, the God of the Bible, believed that Yahweh, he was all powerful. He was has all authority in the universe. Yahweh has all authority. He's the creator. And many people compare him to the sun. Another name of God that I see for the Xhosa people is Kamada, if I'm saying it wrong. I mean, if I'm saying it right, I hope I'm not saying it wrong. And he said, believed to be the creator of the heavens and the earth. Kamada is the supreme and omnipresent God. That's the same God you're saying, the God you're saying, the Xhosa God is the same God of the Israelites of the Bible, of the Old Testament. There's no doubt that the Xhosa people are the Israelites, the true children of God from Israel, but they're just living in South Africa and other places now. Peace and blessings to you.